The night an astronaut lost track of time and space. In orbit, time is supposed to be precise, measured, controlled. But one night, it quietly slipped away. There was no malfunction, no emergency, just a slow unraveling of something humans depend on more than they realize. Time is one of the most fundamental structures of human experience. We organize everything around it: meals, sleep, work, rest, social interaction. The expectation that time will remain anchored, predictable, and aligned with the body is so deeply embedded that most people never think about it. They have never needed to. In space, that assumption cannot survive. To understand why this moment matters today, we need to understand how space alters the most basic human systems. Time on Earth is anchored by light, darkness, routine. In space, those anchors disappear. The body evolved over millions of years in an environment that provided consistent cues for when to sleep, when to wake, when to eat, and when to rest. Remove those cues, and the biological systems built around them begin to drift. Not immediately, not dramatically, but steadily in ways that compound. The mission schedule was demanding. Experiments stacked tightly. Sleep cycles shortened. Sunrises came every 90 minutes, erasing any natural sense of night. Each orbital pass brought another sunrise, then another sunset, at a pace the human body was never designed to follow. The circadian rhythm, the internal clock that regulates nearly every major biological function, depends on a 24-hour cycle of light and dark. In orbit, that cycle is replaced by a rapid, repeating loop that the biology cannot track. At first, the astronaut noticed small things: fatigue that didn't match the clock, focus drifting during simple tasks, a growing sense that minutes and hours were blending together. These early signs are easy to rationalize away. The schedule is heavy. The mission is demanding. Tiredness under these conditions is expected. The incremental nature of the drift makes it difficult to identify as a problem until it has already accumulated well beyond what should have been tolerated. Then came the moment of realization. The astronaut checked the time, then checked it again, and realized they couldn't remember when they had last slept. Time hadn't stopped, but it had lost meaning. The disorientation didn't arrive suddenly. It crept in quietly, wrapped in routine. Tasks were completed correctly, yet effort felt heavier than it should have. The completion of tasks is not the same as the maintenance of function. A person can move through a checklist while operating well below optimal capacity. The checklist does not measure the cognitive cost of each item. It only records completion. The astronaut relied on schedules to stay grounded. Timers, alerts, checklists. But without a natural day or night, the body struggled to align with the clock. The clock remained accurate. The body drifted away from it. These two systems, the external schedule and the internal biological rhythm, began to operate at different rates. The astronaut was technically on time while being biologically out of sync. Sleep became fragmented. Short rest periods replaced full cycles. Dreams bled into waking moments. Fatigue accumulated without obvious warning. Fragmented sleep is qualitatively different from shortened sleep. It does not simply provide less rest. It disrupts the architecture of recovery that full sleep cycles are designed to deliver. Cognitive restoration, memory consolidation, and emotional regulation all depend on completing full sleep cycles. Breaking them apart produces a specific kind of degradation that is not apparent on a surface-level assessment. The mind tried to compensate. Focus sharpened artificially. Attention narrowed. But that compensation demanded energy the body no longer had. The compensatory mechanisms that the brain employs under sleep deprivation are powerful but costly. They can sustain performance on narrow, high-priority tasks for a period of time, but they do so by drawing down reserves that are already depleted. the performance appears maintained. The underlying resource pool is shrinking. During one routine check, the astronaut paused. The numbers looked right. The procedure was followed. Yet something felt off. They realized they had been awake far longer than intended. Time had slipped, unnoticed, between tasks and orbits. In space, there is no external signal to correct you, no sunset to mark the end of effort. Responsibility falls entirely on awareness, and awareness was fading. The effects of sleep loss intensified quickly. Reaction time slowed. Simple calculations required extra focus. The astronaut noticed the change and felt its danger immediately. This noticing is itself significant. Self-awareness under cognitive degradation is not guaranteed. Sleep deprivation impairs the very faculties needed to detect its own impact. The fact that the astronaut recognized the change and recognized it as dangerous reflects both training and the discipline to act on an uncomfortable self-assessment. Fatigue in space is not just discomfort, it is risk. The astronaut reported the issue without hesitation. Schedules were adjusted, tasks deferred, rest was prioritized, even if objectives had to wait. This decision required the willingness to interrupt mission momentum, to accept a delay in progress in service of the human system that progress depends on. In high-performance environments, admitting fatigue can feel like admitting failure. The astronaut did not make that mistake. They understood that a rested crew member completing tasks accurately was worth more than an exhausted one completing them faster. That decision mattered. After recovery sleep, clarity returned. The body resynced as much as possible with artificial cycles. The mission stabilized, but the experience left a mark. The astronaut understood how fragile human systems are when removed from familiar cues, how easily discipline can mask exhaustion, how quickly time can dissolve without anchors. Discipline is one of the most admired qualities in high-performance environments. But discipline applied to the wrong problem creates new problems. Disciplined suppression of fatigue does not eliminate fatigue. It simply delays its expression, allowing it to accumulate until the expression is no longer suppressible. This incident reshaped how space agencies manage long-duration missions. Stricter sleep protocols, better lighting cycles, greater emphasis on human limits. These are not concessions to weakness. They are engineering responses to a known variable. The human body is a system with specific operating requirements. A mission that ignores those requirements is not maximizing performance. It is accepting degraded performance and calling it normal. Because technology can compensate for many things, but not for a body that has lost its sense of time. After returning to Earth, the memory of that night remained vivid. Not dramatic, not terrifying, just quietly unsettling. Certain memories maintain their vividness not because of their intensity in the moment, but because of what they revealed. This memory persisted because it had exposed something the astronaut had not previously understood clearly: how thin the line is between structured performance and quiet disintegration. Time felt different after space. Days passed faster. Rest was no longer something to postpone. It was essential. This recalibration of attitude toward rest is one of the most commonly reported changes in returning astronauts. The abstraction of rest as optional, as something to be earned or scheduled around more pressing demands, does not survive the experience of watching its absence damage performance in real time. The astronaut spoke openly about the experience, not as failure, but as warning. Humans are not machines. Remove natural cues, and even the most disciplined mind can drift. This message is offered not to diminish the competence of the crew member involved, but to illuminate a universal truth about the species. The capacity for discipline and performance is real. It is also finite. It depends on conditions that most environments on Earth provide automatically, and that space does not. This story matters now more than ever. Modern life mirrors some of these conditions. Artificial light, endless schedules, constant alerts, days blending together. The experience of losing track of time, of reaching the end of a day, uncertain of when you last slept properly, of pushing through fatigue by narrowing focus rather than addressing the cause, is not limited to orbit. It is available to anyone with a sufficiently demanding schedule and insufficient respect for the body's requirements. We may not orbit Earth, but we still lose track of time. The lesson from space is simple. Awareness requires rest. Precision depends on recovery. When time loses meaning, judgment follows. And recognizing that limit is not weakness, it is survival. Subscribe to join the journey. The night